The Culture in History is an article about how important that we know how the history influenced the culture and vice versa. How the two influence each other in terms of every manner. The culture that we have now is questionable. Is it really from us? And are we sure that it is not from foreign? And how our identity now and the culture that we have, is it really a pure Filipino tradition? It tackles that one things or matter can change everything. The example is that in the first page, Nick Joaquin was which he mentioned potatoes is a culture and history, and that the culture that you have now can change, and for you to have the proofs, you need the history as replay and recall to what and why that culture existed. And part of it is the industrialization. It is one of the game changer on why people back then didn't want to go enhance the original culture that they have and continue the things that they've seen change. Nick Joaquin also added the difference between tradition and modernity. That in tradition, you are usually following on what is written in history, while in modernity, you see a better view and version of what's missing in tradition. The article also explains that back then, our culture is not as dominant as what the influencers influenced to us. It's more on implicit fact that without the Spaniards and Americans, we could never achieve the culture and maintain it until now. And when that time invades our culture and the influencers make a huge difference, that it is hard to go back the layers that we place on it. But there was this quote in the reading says that culture and history are the flowing waters that make it impossible to step into the same river of identity twice. It means that the history has the ability to inform present people, but they don't have the way to go back to where the identity before, because identity is a process on which you must continue living from the start. We step in until our last breath. Nationalism was also discussed, that it is the advanced and vast complex of political development and the history of national geography, that back then the Philippines is known for its name called Five Islands, and every year the history of our geography is constantly changing.
Hola, my name is Juan. I have a story about my dinner experience with some friends of a family I admire for their nationalism, although they rather tend to make a display of it. At this dinner, the display consists of using a stone at the gray table. A roundish gray stone about the size of pelota. This stone was actually a rock salt. It was passed around instead of a salt because they said that was how the ancient Filipinos salted their food. You press your stone on your rice and fish, you rub it again your meal, and you soak it in your broth for desired saltiness. I am afraid they all looked down on me and said I'd rather have an ordinary table salt because I was all for modernity. Our host proudly says that, look how truly Filipino we are. Instead of using a salt cellar, which is foreign, we use a salt stone which is native. This may be true, but why pick on a poor salt cellar? I remember on the table there were forks and spoons which are not native, beef and cabbage which are also not ordinarily from the Philippines. The food is saute, which is the method of how the food was cooked, is not native. Also, where the food was cooked. They used cacerola, which is foreign. Can you blame me if I came away from that dinner with the impression that the salt cellar is bigger danger to Philippine nationalism than even the US bases? Of course, I know that the question was supposedly being answered at that dinner table with the abolition of the salt cellar. The question of identity.